Hey, everybody, and this is Joshua with Excelsior Coaching. So, we're going to talk about healing. And a lot of people think that healing means that the pain disappears. But the truth is, healing is when that pain stops controlling your life. So, we're going to talk a little about it, okay? Now, let's talk about what healing isn't. It's not ignoring it, it's not staying busy, it's not time alone, it's not pretending that you're okay. It's not just quoting scriptures and not applying it. That's a big one. It's going to be facing that wound. It's going to be taking responsibility for your responses. It's going to be processing those emotions, those sweet, sweet emotions that we all have. And it's going to be forgiving where it's appropriate to forgive, as well as rebuilding your identity and, living differently. Healing is a big, big thing, and a lot of people don't know how to really heal. Um, so what's keeping people stuck? You're going to get pride, you're going to get fear, shame, isolation, identity built around that wound. That's it's just who I am thing, and then that unsolved bitterness. Again, healing and forgiving are going to remove that bitterness. Here are a couple of those biblical examples. I'll give you the rundown before we really dive on in. Joseph, the man had to forgive his brothers for all they put him through and, nearly killing him. David, Saul lost his mind. Saul killed his thousands, but David killed his 10,000. Saul killed his 10,000s, but David killed his 100,000s. And Saul couldn't deal with it. David was just ready. Peter, when he denied Jesus, Jesus didn't just say, "Hey, I forgive you, Pete, man." He restored him. He didn't sit in unforgiveness and bitterness with that wound. He restored. And then Jesus healed both physically and spiritually. People came to him not really knowing what to say, what to do, anything. And, it was just something that he was able to just deal with. He said, "Go and sin no more. I don't condemn you." A lot of these things that people don't really know how to do these days. Um, Another big piece of it is admitting that there is a wound, naming it honestly. A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not going to claim that. I'm not going to claim that." Name it. Um, Talking to someone trustworthy, somebody that's not going to go blab your stuff to the world. Stop blaming everybody. And then, learn healthier patterns. We're not trying to stay in this cycle here. And then staying connected to God and community. And then practicing new habits. So let's dive on in, shall we? So, what isn't healing? Ignoring it. A lot of us want to ignore, what we've been through. It didn't happen to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Who said that? You're nuts. But when we ignore it, we just allow it to fester. And I don't know if you know what the word fester means. It means to rot. And that wound is just going to get worse and worse. And that's when we start getting snappy with people. That's when we are lashing out. That's when, you know, kids act out. That's when they steal, they hit, they bite, they refuse to do their homework, you name it. There's a wound there. Staying busy, that goes back to ignoring it. We can't ignore the problem or the problem won't get better. It doesn't go away just because we pretend it's not there. I know there have been points when I wanted to pretend my problems weren't there, but guess what? I woke up the next day and they're still there. I know people that don't want to pay a bill because I just don't have that money. If they really do, they still want to use it on that. And guess what? They still have that bill. They're going to come shut your power off. They're going to come take your car, whatever the case may be, but you can't ignore it. Time alone. Now, time alone is important. I love my time alone. It helps me to reset, refresh my mind, and do what I need to do. But we can't isolate. When we isolate, it doesn't do any good. The problem doesn't disappear. We need that community to help us, to elevate us, to edify us in order to heal. Being alone all the time isn't going to work. Pretending that I'm okay, again, I'm not going to ignore the problem. I'm okay. I'm okay. You know, it's not going to work. You see a lot of people who maybe their grandmother just died or something, and they're smiling, they're trying to be the life of the party, they're yucking it up, but they're crushed inside. And it's okay to feel crushed. You have to acknowledge that you're crushed. If you don't, guess what? It's going to be a bigger boom later. And I don't want that. You don't want that. We don't want that. Um, Facing that wound. Now, years ago, my dad left, up and left. And it took a long time for me to face that wound. I didn't even realize I had it at first, but I was able to, face it. I was able to say, hey, you hurt me this deeply, and I don't know if I'm ever going to be okay. Yes, I was, because I was able to heal. I was able to move forward once I did that. When I lost my son 2 years ago, to this day, it hurts. It's not the wound that it was because I allowed myself to feel it. I allowed myself to cry and to do things creatively to honor his memory. I wrote a song, two actually, about it, and it was cathartic. It was really cathartic. Now, had I ignored it, maybe I would have gotten a drinking or something stupid, because that's not healthy to ignore that wound that was left by my baby boy. Now, there's a scar there. There's a scar where he should be. I have healed. A scar means you have healed, but a scar also means that damage took place. And I have healed. Praise the Lord, I healed. I would take that scar over an open wound any day. Now, taking responsibility for a response. In that instance, I didn't have a response that I needed to take responsibility for. But there have been times maybe I've lashed out, I've been angry, I've been sad or scared. I know people that have. I'm not going to throw them under the bus and tell you their business, but it's true. Processing the emotion. I process things usually creatively. I write, I sing, I find something to put it out there. And I encourage people to keep a journal, a diary, write a song, write a poem, something to externalize those emotions so that you know what you're feeling, and writing it down. You're telling yourself, you're telling that paper, maybe you're telling somebody else. I am mad. I tell clients all the time, write it down. If you don't know what to say right now, that's okay. You don't have to verbalize it, but let it out. And when we let it out, guess what? It flows a lot more than we realize it will. I don't know what to say. Say anything. Guess what? Oh my goodness, I wrote 10 pages. Oh my goodness, how did you know that was going to happen? I know. I know. You know, Forgiving. I had to forgive my dad. I had to forgive my dad, because if I hadn't, it was just going to drag me down. By forgiving him, I've opened up a channel. Now he's still afraid, but now he has my number. And if he's willing to, let's chat about it. Get to know me. Get to know the old man me, not that toddler. It's a big deal. And then live differently, live free. It doesn't mean turn up, go party. It means be free. Stop letting that be a yoke on your shoulders. It means stop carrying the burdens around that you don't need to. Healing sets you free. And Jesus said, My yoke is easy, my burden is easy, and my yoke is light. That's why he wants to give us his. He wants to take our weight. And that's what we need to do to heal. Go to him. But we get stuck so dang often. We get stuck in that pride. Oh, I know what I'm doing. I don't need this. I don't need that. But guess what? In order to heal, you got to kill that pride. You got to crucify that flesh. I had somebody tell me the other day I sound like a chick because I emote, because I don't want to shut down, because I want to be healthy and I want to grow, because it is important that we do so. We can't be afraid. Fear will paralyze us. Some people think fear is a good thing. Yes, fear can keep you alive, but being alive and living are two different things. I can't work with fear in my own life. And I would encourage anybody to work with fear in their lives. Because if we're sitting here afraid to act, we're never going to get anywhere. If Lewis and Clark were afraid to trek across the continent, the Pacific Northwest will still be somebody's country, not ours. Maybe that girl that's your wife now wouldn't be your wife because you were afraid to act, because you didn't ask her out for that date. We can't live in fear. We can't be afraid to say, I don't know what to do. I need help. I'm wrong. I'm scared. All these things. Because until we do, we're stuck in fear. Shame. One of the biggest things is feeling ashamed of what's happened. We are ashamed to go forward. We're ashamed to heal. We're ashamed to do better. And we can't work that way. We can't live that way. He, you know, kids, I'm talking about kids on this one, they often get in trouble because of shame. Oh, I did this bad thing, so I'm going to hide it and not admit it. And it grows and grows and grows to something worse. In the garden, Adam was ashamed of eating the fruit because he knew he shouldn't have. And so he said, I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. God said, who told you you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I told you not to? The woman. The woman did it. It was her, dog. It was her. Because he was so afraid and so ashamed, he passed the blame. And then she did literally the exact same thing. Shame just makes things worse. Jesus came to take away our shame. He doesn't want us to be ashamed. He wants to be bare in front of the Father, unashamed of what we look like, because we're going to look like Him. I already talked about being alone. The isolation is dangerous because mentally we ruminate and it doesn't go anywhere, and it turns into an echo chamber of self-confirmation in our head. Oh, they're going to kill you for this. You should be ashamed, you horrible, this or that. And then we build an identity around it. It becomes who we are. It doesn't become somebody who's sinned. It becomes you're a sinner no matter what you do. It becomes somebody who did something bad. It becomes I am a bad person. That's not what God said we are. That's not who God said you are. You are more than conquerors to him who loves you. He said you are worth dying for. That's why he did it. That's your identity. Your identity is found in Christ. Bitterness, you can't be bitter. You can't live in that, or you'll never get better. It's not okay. how do I say it? Bitterness, unresolved, like I said earlier, festers, and that turns into anger and hostility, and that turns into, well, one guy hurt me. It turns from, well, one guy hurt me to, oh, all guys are this way. That turns into, I'm gonna choose the bear. That turns into that mess. That turns into lie to your wife to hide what you've done. All that ignorance is stupid. It's pure stupid. I'm gonna tell you. Like I said, Joseph could have been bitter. He could have been angry, and he could have been shameful. My brothers hate me, and they tried to kill me, but they sold me into slavery. I must be horrible. I must be something wrong. These visions in my head must be bad. No, he trusted God with it, and God not only restored him and his brothers, but he went boom. He elevated him so dang high that it was ridiculous. And everything that he foresaw did come true. David was a murderer and an adulterer. He was fearful of his own son. But even in that, God was able to restore him and bless him. And there's still someone to this very day on that very same throne. David lusted after a woman that wasn't his wife, got her knocked up, had her husband killed to cover up that, lost his son, ran away from his own kingdom to hide from a different son. And God still said, guess what? I got you. And then another son stayed on that throne and grew that kingdom. And then years later, another. And Christ is on that same throne. When we even seek him, no matter how bad we messed up, David did some messed up stuff. The shame and the guilt and the fear and the isolation could have killed him. If you've ever read Psalms, almost did. But no, he ran before God. And God restored him. He healed what was broken in him. Paul, that man went from hunting Christians to becoming a Christian. He went from taking lives to laying down his own. He went from, oh no, you horrible people, to I am the chief of sinners. Paul is one of my favorite people that I can't wait to meet one day because that restoration, that 180 was so amazing. He was blind, but then he saw. That is amazing grace. Peter, like I said earlier, he denied Jesus not once, not twice. He denied him 3 times. And God restored him and made him a leader to the point of people were healed when his shadow went over them. Things that God can do through the broken is amazing because they're no longer broken when he gets a hold of you. You are healed by his stripes. You are healed. That's inside and out. Jesus healed he healed the people that were broken. He healed the blind, the deaf, the cripple. He healed every one of them, but he also healed, the woman caught in adultery. He healed the woman at the well. He healed through their faith and obedience. He healed. The centurion wasn't a Jew, and his faith was still so strong that that very hour his servant was healed. Come on. Somebody say amen. But how do we do it? Admit there's something wrong. Admit something's hurt, that you're torn open in some way. It's okay to do. Name what it is. I've messed up. Somebody hurt me. I hurt somebody. This thing is not supposed to be here. Talk to somebody trustworthy. You know, I'll talk to my pastors. I talk to my big brother. Talk to my wife. I have a lot of people to talk to. Talk to my therapist. Guess what? Got a therapist. It works. Somebody that you can trust. Stop blaming others for what you've done. If I messed up, if I've said the wrong thing, I'm sorry. I'm not going to blame you for what I did. I'm going to own it. When we own it, everything improves. It really does. Learning those healthier patterns, learn to check ourselves, learning to check our thoughts and our actions before we even make them. Should I be saying this? Should I do this? That thought I just had in my head, is that from me? I probably don't want it. Is that a healthy thought? No. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that. Staying in God, staying in His Word, pray, be around people that are going to keep you accountable. They're going to hold you to the fire because that's going to be necessary. Practicing those new habits all the time. I want to be a great dad. Some people say I'm a good dad and great dad already. Nah, but I'm working there. I'm trying. God's the only way it's going to help me. I'm going to lead by example, not just my words, but my actions. I'm going to present you the options. And I'm going to help you make the right choice. I'm not going to force you to be a clone of me, but I'm going to show you the right things to do. I've mentioned my dad a lot. He left when I was about 2. Saw him again right before I turned 13, and then again a couple of months ago. I'm 37 years old. You do that math. I healed over a long span of time. A wound was there, a gaping wound that didn't go away. Father's Day, I was just livid and mad and snarling. And one day, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was in college by this point, and I started to heal. As soon as I decided I don't want to do this. And then I said, I want to be a father better than the one I had. And I healed more by that decision. Then I really started healing when I decided, I forgive you. I decided to forgive the man that hurt me the most. Not because he deserves it, but because what good is it doing me? It's just making me hurt over and over again. And by this point, I have little boys to look up to me, to love on, and to teach what forgiveness looks like. He can now call me anytime he gets ready to. I'm here. I'm not mad. I'm not standoffish. I'm not upset. You want to talk? Guess what? I'm here. Let's do it. It took me a long time to heal. Because it took so long, I ended up depressed through most of my teens, through all of my 20s, because I didn't walk in that depression, in that healing early, and I should have. And the thing is though, it's not about becoming, who you used to be. It's about becoming the person God made you to be. He created you to be whole and healed. And if you're ready to stop being wounded, I want you to get in touch with me. I want to work with you. I want to help you walk step by step through what healing looks like. So your tomorrow can be better. So get in touch with Joshua at excelsiorcoaching.org. Let's get to work. I love you.